There we go. I had to update the app, so it was a little bit different.
Very nice. Good morning, everybody. Mark, looking good. I love the coastal background. Hope everybody is doing good. Welcome back to Mastermind. It's been we had a week or so off. Um, but as I promised this year, now that we are hopefully fully integrated into the CRM and Sync is up and running and better good than bad, more good than bad. I want to get back to talking about things we do to actually be successful in our business. And so nice, Kelly. This I'm going to share a presentation that Brandon actually gave at one of our team meetings several years ago. And Brandon, this is your thing. I appreciate you letting me share it with the team. Feel free to jump in if you have comments, thoughts, anything else to add, and everybody else too. This isn't as much a presentation as it is a guide to engage everybody in a conversation. So that's really my goal. So feel free to please jump in. Let me share my screen.
Mhm.
All right, can everybody see the presentation?
Yes.
All right, fantastic.
Yeah.
So this is the today's mastermind is titled Secret Sauce. Brandon's presentation is titled Tips and Tricks. You'll kind of see why it's named kind of both as we get into it. So let's jump into it. This is how to preface it.
Well, I did. There was a local realtor association thing for new agents, is how I came up with this presentation, and the topic that they had, the title of the mastermind that they had called it was Secret Sauce, and then I just kind of made some edits and did this for the team. That's kind of how the history of it went.
Gotcha. I
Was this the
appreciate
thing
it.
that you did in Raleigh at that big,
Yes.
Yeah. So it's especially relevant that Brandon points out that this was initially done for like newer agents, right? But the thing is, it applies to everybody, and it should always apply to everybody. And I love how he prefaces it because there's no magic pill, there's no perfect lead source. If your mindset is that either one of those exist, just quit now, because that's not the way it works. That's not the way this business works. And I think so many people, unfortunately, are misinformed getting into the business, that they think it's just a plug and play. And the systems are certainly important, but it's not. It's so much more than just, hey, I've got a great website. Hey, I've got flashy graphics and all this stuff. Hey, I do really good on social media. There's a lot more to it. So we're going to jump into this conversation. And again, so tips and tricks from Brandon. I love the design of this because it really, I don't know, subconsciously reflects how simple the approach should be. Because I think so often we get caught up in all the flash of what we think real estate should be. But when it comes down to it, it's really very simple things. Consistency, I think, more than anything. And I think that's where a lot of people really lack the consistency in their approach. And I can tell you, it's going to change as your career changes and the longer you've been in the business. But you still have to be consistent in your effort and marketing yourself and putting yourself out there and delivering value when you get in front of that person that you've never worked with before, right? Systems. We can't do it without systems. It's just not the way the world works today. The team provides systems, but then you should have your own systems. And that includes, your calendar, your schedule, your approach to work, so you can implement that consistency into your systems. Support network. We shouldn't have any problems there. Hopefully you have all seen at this point, the team has your back. We're here to support you in, lots of different ways. But hopefully that's a box you will never not be able to check when you're talking about things that you need that are important for your business. Showtime, showing up. I'm going to let Brandon talk a little bit more about that when we get to that slide. And then, as our hallmark, providing value. That's how we started our meetings, talking about what our goal is, what our mission is, and how we go about earning people's trust in their business, right? Providing value. So let's jump into it. Anybody where would you rank these? Because they don't have to particularly be in order. They're just there. What does everybody think? What's most important in your approach?
One
I
listed
think-
first.
Yeah, consistency is number one
Yeah.
by a pretty large margin.
In everything you do. Providing value, working on your
Provide value would be number two, I
consistency.
would say, yes.
It's almost like consistency can apply to each one of these things, right?
Mhm.
And it is
Honestly, I think the systems are the least important. I've got a good friend up here in Raleigh, one of my best friends in real estate. She did $22 million worth of real estate last year. Now her average price point is like 1 million. She's like a high-end agent. So she's doing less transactions than many of us are, but her volume is way higher. And she doesn't have a CRM. And
Hmm.
we got dinner in Florida together last month, and she was telling me this, and she told me the same thing last year, and I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, you can get Boomtown for $99 a month or whatever." And she's like, "I don't need it. I don't need it," and she doesn't, but most people do.
Yeah. I think it all depends on where you're getting your business from too, that has a lot to do with it. All right. Anybody else have anything to share? Josh, Connor, Ellen, Janine, Kelly?
No.
Consistency. So important. We've talked about this. Onboarding when you join the team, about building your ideal weekly schedule, about holding yourself accountable and tracking your activity to make sure that you're doing the things that you said you want to do at the times and on the days that you say you want to do them, to make sure that you're able to see if you're actually doing it, and then you can adjust. If you're doing the things that you say you're going to do and you're being successful, well, 1 + 1 is 2, right? Other side of the coin, if you're not doing the things that you said you want to do, and you're not being successful, well, start doing them. And then the thing in the middle always is room for improvement. I'm doing what I said I'm going to do, but I'm not being as successful as I want to do. So look introspectively and say, okay, what can I do better? Where am I maybe inconsistent in my delivery, providing value, something like that. So a routine is so important so you can hold yourself accountable, right? How are the things happening? Just like we talked about when we set our goals. On average, how many calls should we make? For how many appointments? Because what's my conversion rate? And ultimately, how many people do I have to get in front of to sell the number of houses I want to sell this year to help people, right? To accomplish my personal goals, right? You got to track that stuff and hold yourself accountable and go back and look at it, control your calendar. Time block. It's important. We have this meeting once a week at 10 o'clock on Thursdays. Plan around it. Okay. So you can share this knowledge and get this knowledge. Book it like a showing, right? It's important. It's one time that you can focus on professional growth with your team every week. Give and get, right? Make it important, right? Just like you would with your family, or you would for a client who's ready versus who's not ready, right? Control your calendar. Don't let your calendar control you. Be in control. Don't forget to block and tackle. Do the basics. Record your calls so you know what you're entering. Put in the right notes. So when you set the reminder and you call them back in a month, you know what to talk about. You can pick up the conversation from where you left it off.
Yeah.
In your systems, put the data in right away so you don't get busy and distracted and then you forget to put something in there. If it changes, go back and update it, right? Drag the stuff in the right placeholders in the dot loop so it's easy for me and April to find the documents. Or you, if your client calls you in 2 years and said, oh, hey, do you still have that inspection report? Or, hey, do you still have my appraisal? Or any of that stuff. Hey, do you have that receipt from the roof repair? Put the stuff in the right place so it's easy to find for everybody. We've got this whole, database of thousands of transactions now, hundreds for several of you. Make sure that you're keeping your stuff clean. Archive duplicates of the documents. Keep your stuff clean, just like you'd want to keep your desktop clean, right? Get face to face. This is a face to face business. We talked about ABC in our goal setting meetings. What's ABC mean? Who wants to yell it out?
Always be closing.
Always
Always be closing.
What's one of the first things we close for?
Appointment.
Yeah,
Get in
face to
front
face.
of them. Okay, I've connected. I know what you're looking for. Let's get together. I want to meet you face to face. I want to hear you tell me about what's important to you. I want to walk you through the buying process if you've never done it before, or you haven't done it for a while, or you've never done it in North Carolina. Or I want to just see how you react to different properties so I can start understanding what's important to you. Get face to face. It's so easy to be satisfied because you had a conversation and now you can check that you had a conversation and now you can enter a note and now you can set up an alert and send them properties. But what if they don't look at the property alerts?
Or what if they're talking to another agent?
Yes. Who asked the question,
Yep.
when are you available? I'm available X, Y, and Z.
And has a showing set up.
Are you just asking for availability or are you offering your availability
Yep.
so they can't answer yes or no?
I remember one thing that when I first started, Doug, you would always say, don't ask a yes or no question, always leave it open-ended. Don't put the ball in their, well, I mean, yes, put the ball in their court, but like take control of the conversation. Like just say, don't say, what does your calendar look like? Say, I have availability this week. Here's my options. What works best for you?
Yes. Perfect. And I would say that approach has worked pretty well for you.
Yeah.
I mean, it make that we remember a few weeks ago, we talked about the power of language.
Yeah.
That's a good example of that, you know. And it's not that you're controlling the conversation, you're giving the conversation an opportunity to continue.
Yeah. I'll give a good
Yes,
example.
no answers are usually stoppers.
100%. And that's what people like to have, yes or no answers. It works too with like Brandon and I get, and Doug, we've been in the business longer. You get a lot of our businesses referrals. And so I literally just got one this weekend and my past client was like, hey, can I give your name out? My so-and-so is looking to buy. I said, absolutely. Thank you for thinking of me. If it's easier, I'm happy to reach out if they're okay with you passing along their information. Always get permission to get the information, but offer for you to reach out to them because you don't know that they don't have another agent that they're talking to. And chances are they're not going to call you. I mean, they very well might if it's a close friend, but always like, again, it's another opportunity to say, hey, I got you. Let me reach out. But again, with permission. I mean, these people ended up not being in a position to buy right now. But I literally got her on the phone. They have no job here yet. Like they're just not, they talk to the lender. They're like, yeah, we need to rent first and then buy. But she's like, thank you so much for this conversation. We're definitely going to use you when we're ready to buy. So that's the value. Like they wanted to go see houses. I'm like, let's walk that back. We're not ready to see houses right yet. You've never done this before. Let's talk about ABC XYZ. Like Brandon was saying, like get that conversation in the right order to set people up for success. But don't always assume that they're going to call you because they won't.
And set that expectation with your cheerleaders, right? Hey,
yeah.
I appreciate it. I love it when you share my name, but get me their info so I can reach out and get permission for me to reach out to them.
Yep.
Because exactly what you just said. Brandon, what you got?
I think Janine and Doug just hit on two good points. So much of the importance in getting face to face is making sure you're setting the proper expectation on what you're going to do, what they need to do, and what you expect from them. But and the process, of course. But the other thing, and I talk to Doug about this offline a lot, is making sure you are a good fit for someone and vice versa. Some people are assholes and
You
some
don't want
people are tire kickers and some people you can tell right off the rip they don't know what they're talking about. They think that they've done a bunch of transactions. They think you're smarter or they're smarter than you are. They don't value real estate agents. And, sometimes it's okay to not work with everybody. And sometimes you have to get in front of someone and You know, I got in front of someone this past weekend. It's the third time we've been together, and um, I finally understand why they don't trust real estate agents now, because they finally opened up to me about a very bad negative experience that they had when they were in Florida selling their property to come to North Carolina. And so, you know, it actually has changed my approach on how I need to deal with them, because I went from thinking, well, this guy's just an asshole who thinks he knows more than I do, to this guy's been burnt before and I've got to do my job to win him over, to show him the value. And, I very much can get in my own head about this guy's not the right fit for me for whatever reason. And sometimes I'm right and they're just not a good fit. But sometimes people have been hurt and it's your job to win them over if you want the business. And if you don't want the business, that's okay. But if I'm leaving a bunch of money on the table, that's my fault, not his. You
Mhm.
understand what I'm saying?
And that's a great point. No one owes us anything,
That's right.
even if I've sold 250 houses in 10 years,
Yeah.
right? They don't know. Every time you meet with someone, it's an audition, right?
Yeah.
It's a job interview. So you
Every
got to
time.
have that mindset. And that's why you got to come prepared. You got to come looking right, looking ready, and be ready to go. Know your stuff.
That's a great point though. Like people's experience is their reality. And all it takes is for that first experience to suck ass for them to make up their mind that it's all going to be like that. It's like when I was working in nursing and I get a patient that comes in and they're petrified of getting an IV because the very first time they had it, they fainted and it took 6 nurses and all of that. So I have to be able to overcome that
Great
to make
point.
them be okay with getting
Yeah.
an IV. It's the same. Good point, Brandon.
Excellent point. That's really important stuff to think about and to go into it with, hey, I want to earn the business instead of I'm entitled to the business because I'm here, right? And if you go in with that mindset, you're much more likely to come prepared, to come ready, and be in a position to provide some value, right?
And it also kind of
Also,
sucks listening to people being burned. It sucks that that's their
well,
experience.
ask people about their experience.
Yeah.
So if you ask them up front, maybe you learn about it sooner so you can address it head on. Hey, tell me about your experience buying and selling before. How'd it
Yeah.
go? What worked good? What didn't work good? People love to talk. They also love to complain, but a lot of times after they complain, they feel better. So give them the opportunity to do that, right?
Yes.
One of
Yes.
the questions I ask when I first meet, especially first time home buyers, is what do you expect out of a real estate agent? What do you expect from me? Give them an opportunity to tell you what they want. And they may not have an answer, and that's okay.
Yeah. It's just like when I do a buyer consult, I say, well, before I get into my part, what questions do you have?
Yep.
And a lot of people will say, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And that's fine. Well, the important thing is I gave them the opportunity. Right.
But and to that point, if I have them on the phone, I'll say, hey, let's plan to meet. We'll talk about the home buying process. Between now and then, I want you to make a list of all the questions that you might have that you want to ask me. And then when we meet, and I'll meet them and I'll say, listen, I know you probably have a mind of tons of questions. Let me go through my thing. And if I don't answer something in this process, it's an open book for you to, and usually they're ticking off their notepad what questions they've had throughout the conversation.
Yep.
That gives them something to do, something to prepare for, something for them to be like they're part of this. They're not just winging
You're
it.
not just talking at
Yeah,
them.
exactly. Exactly.
It's a conversation. Um, all really good points. To keep going, obviously face to face is important. Look how long we talked about it right there.
Right.
Prospect with the intent to qualify. The beauty and the curse of the CRM is it's there every day.
Close it. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that.
And prospecting is probably every real estate agent's least favorite thing about the business. But it's where the business comes from, right? You have to prospect. So don't prospect because you have to prospect. Prospect because that person might be looking to spend $500,000 and now you've made in 2 weeks worth of work what you used to make in 2 months worth of work. And you're able to really help someone accomplish something really important to them because that's what we're in the business for, right? So remember that with every phone call you get, with every lead that comes through, not, damn it, another lead. I got a call. They're not going to answer. No, hell yes. This one might be the one that picks up and is ready to do something like the other guy was.
And also, it's okay if it's not immediate. I have a list appointment with a guy next week that was a sign call from over 2 years ago.
Love it. Well, way to follow up.
Yeah.
Way to stay in touch.
Well,
So-
another thing I would encourage everybody to think of with this, I'm not on leads anymore. I've been doing it for a while, but I started on leads and I know that it works. But the other thing you got to think of with these leads as you're calling them is you're also building your future pipeline as well. Okay. Because you get 100 leads, you convert 10 of them, 6 of them close this year, 4 of them close next year. Those 10 should be sending you should get at least 1 to 2 deals a year from that group of 10. So the future business that they're going to connect you to, you're leaving on the table if you're not making those calls. If you're just calling to check a to-do off of your sync or whatever, and you're not taking it seriously, if you're not taking notes, if you're not engaged, if you're not actively listening, I mean, what's the point?
Even the shitty
Right.
$50,000 piece of land, you don't know what the hell will come from that.
One of my best investor clients was a Boomtown lead at Rachel Kendall team that someone passed to me because he inquired about a $25,000 piece of land in Durham. I lived in Durham. They didn't want to deal with someone that was looking at shitty land, so they sent it to me. And I've closed 6 transactions from this guy and his partner.
How about that?
About $4 million worth of real estate.
Yep.
You just never know.
And that feeds great to the last bullet point on this slide.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Reasons to write people off. Stop trying to disqualify people. Qualify them. Your job is to help them.
There
not
is
tell-
also a fine line though. There obviously there's different.
Of course,
every
like we
situation.
talked about before, people who
Yeah.
are not going to listen, people who are unrealistic despite statistics that we can show, all of those things. But yes, exactly.
I will say to that though, if you guys ever have a gut out the gate feeling that something is off or the vibe is weird or you're just not really sure, listen to your gut. Like I'll always say, Doug, I don't know about this. What do you think? Is this a spammy? Is it worth investigating? Like usually your gut is not wrong. Or if you're meeting them for the first time, get a teammate to go with you to a sketch area. Or if you're not comfortable meeting them, I don't know. I've been with Stephanie on showings in the past in Wilmington that, if you have a gut feeling that something is just off, it's not worth the heartache and the crazy to chase that. You see what that's like the fine line that I'm talking about. Like it's okay to write something off if it doesn't feel right.
Right. And especially the longer you do this, the more you're going to know when that's the case, right? But still, trust your gut and make a judgment call depending on the situation. All right, let's move on to the next one. Systems. What are the systems about? They're about giving you the opportunity to work smarter and not harder, right? But to do that, you have to use it and use it correctly. Manage your leads efficiently. Track what you're doing and what you're getting out of it, like we set for our activity goals. Hold yourself accountable and go look at your CSU dashboard every once in a while and see if the colors are right on the little pinwheels up there. Are you hitting your metrics that you set based on what you want to achieve? Are you making the calls? Are you getting the appointments? Are you getting in front of the people that you need to, on average, based on past statistics, to help you achieve your goals? Utilize your data like we have to set realistic goals, which we did. That's the whole point of the team goal setting meeting, right? And then, do you have what you need to be successful? Is the tech stack there? It should be, but maybe you have different goals that go beyond what the team offers. There are plenty of other resources out there that you can get on your own. Like one thing that I did recently, and it's not offered at the Coast, so I haven't talked with the Coast team about it, is I invested in this mailer. It's basically $1 a piece, and it sends like a $25 coupon to a local business to my triangle lead, or not my triangle leads, but like my triangle past clients and sphere. And that's a really cheap investment. But my family's picture is on the postcard. There's a note from me on the postcard. And it's just a way to stay front of mind. The other thing is, which I have talked about with the whole team, is the thing that Brandon introduced me to, the client giant thing, where it basically sends a gift every quarter to a client. And it's $100 per year per client. But they're getting an actual physical package in the mail 4 times a year from you. Again, just a way to stay relevant. If I get one closing from all of those people, it's paid for the thing for 1 year. I'm confident I'm going to get one, but I'm shooting for 5, something like that. And guess what? One of my past clients who's on that mailing list hit me up with a message yesterday, connected me to her coworker who wants to sell. I got a list appointment tomorrow. So you never know, but I do know if you're not putting yourself out there, you're much less likely to hear from somebody or get a referral that way. So do you
One
have
thing, just a side tangent. One thing that I don't understand about real estate agents is we are some of the cheapest people on the planet. And I say this, Doug and Janine to an extent, but especially Doug can tell you, I am as tight as a penny. I don't like to spend money at all. I act like I don't have anything, but that motivates me to work and get more. But real estate agents don't want to spend any money, but they'll spend money on social media advertising and sponsored posts and this and that, but they don't want to spend money on their past clients or their current clients or send someone a nice gift when they provide a referral. And I just think that the return on investment on that is so much better than a website or advertisement or whatever. It's just food for that's another conversation, but just dropping that in there.
There's not a business that involves sales in the world where they won't tell you the most important thing to do is to stay in touch with your past clients, because that's going to be your best source of ongoing business, because they can speak to how you performed.
Yep.
And nobody trusts someone like someone that's referred to them, right? Because they've got this personal story that someone has told them about how you or whoever was helpful and helped them accomplish their goals and how great and nice you were. All of those things. So make sure that you're focused on, and not just your past clients, but your sphere. Farm your sphere. They know you already. Make sure you're staying in touch with them. Okay. Moving on.
Doug.
Support. Yeah, Kelly.
That I just want to say, the age-old saying, word of mouth is the best advertisement. It is true.
100%. And that's why we have people that aren't on team leads anymore, because they've gotten to that point in their career where they've done such a good job of converting those leads at the beginning of their career and following up with their past clients and sphere, that now they can rely solely on that to feed themselves. That's a beautiful thing. That should be everybody's goal in real estate. Support network. Develop genuine relationships with industry peers and colleagues. I'm terrible at that outside of this team, but I'm just not that social. Brandon is great at this because he's got a ton of friends who are real estate agents. I'm not saying one is better than the other, although one probably is. I'm just saying develop relationships. At this point in the team, you have built-in relationships. They're here. You do have an immediate support network, but you can always go outside of that. Another way to build a better support network is to recruit other good agents.
Yeah.
To bring them to work with us if you think it's a good fit, of course, which Ellen brought Josh, thank you. Things of that nature. So keep that in mind as well. Go
It's
ahead.
really important. No, you're good. Follow them on social media. A lot of them are in the neighborhoods that you live in, and their kids go to school together. And also, if you've got relationships with agents, like I always text my agent friends, hey, do you have anything coming Sneeds Ferry, Holly Ridge, so I can get ahead of the game, because you've already developed that relationship, and you can go that extra mile for your clients and try to. I sold a house to a past client of mine because I knew an agent that lived in a neighborhood and always has listings, and they're like, you have anything coming up? I literally was the first one in and the first offer in, and it worked out just because I had that relationship built with her. I feel like that went a long way for my client in getting the house, so even, I mean, go to the bar with them, just do stuff outside of real estate with other colleagues in the area. And it's so important. Like, I'm really good friends with a lot of people at Caldwell Banker and everywhere else. So it's so important.
And Janine, I want to thank you. I did refer my friend to Stacy, and
Oh, yay!
yeah, she was super nice. She put us on a group chat so I could, see their initial contact. It was a beautiful experience. Thank you.
You're welcome. She's amazing. I actually the person I referred to her never worked out, but I ended up following her on social media, and she's a cruiser and she cruises all the time. She's great. She's very successful. I'm glad it worked out. Perfect. You're welcome.
That's great. Okay. So this slide, I'm not a good example to present on this slide, but step outside of your comfort zone and get involved. I know Brandon is involved at stuff with Raleigh Association of Realtors. You guys could go get involved with JBOR if you want to. I know there are always committees and things that you can get involved in if that's something you
Don't be
want.
scared. Don't be scared.
There you go. Send business to other people who have businesses. And they're
Yes.
more likely to send people to you.
Handyman.
Yesterday, for an example, hey, a pat on the back. I actually did some networking yesterday. I'm on NC State Wake County regional volunteer group, and I met with another lady who's on the group. Found out that she went to the same high school my wife did, was in the same class as my sister-in-law, which was hilarious. We didn't know that, but she's a financial advisor. And she talked about, hey, I need a good real estate agent that if my clients have questions about real estate, I can send them to. And I was like, well, I got you. Here's some cards, keep me in mind. She also asked for a CPA recommendation because she didn't have a good one to recommend. So I'm going to send her my CPA information too. And of course, I might get her to look at my investments and see if there's any room for improvement there. So that's a beneficial relationship for everybody, right? I haven't done as good a job with this recently, but I used to do this a lot. I'd have lunch with someone from my sphere once a month. You got to eat, probably. So, set something up, reach out to someone. It's okay to be that initiator. So go do it, and it doesn't have to be, okay, send me a referral. You're just talking to people. Okay. You don't have to talk about real estate for them to know that you're in real estate constantly, right? Okay. Showtime. Brandon, you did such a good job with this before. I'd love for you to run with this slide.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Doug tried to talk me into getting into real estate one time and I didn't do it. And then we did it. We had the same conversation about 2 years later. And I was like, Doug, I've never been in sales before. And, he's like, the only thing you're selling is yourself. And that really resonated with me. One, at the time, because I was desperate and miserable and wanted a career change. But, that's true. When you're trying to sell a property, you have commission breath and you're turning off the people that are in front of you.
Oh, yes.
When they can tell that you know what you're talking about and you have their best interest at heart and you're listening and taking that in and looking out for them and you don't have commission breath, you just show up and you be yourself. And if they like you and if you're a good fit, you are who you are. And, that's all most people want. Most people are only going to talk to one agent anyway. And, if you seem like you're a good person and you know what you're talking about, you're probably golden. So, be yourself. Don't come across like a salesperson. Get to know people. Take notes. That's why we have the CRM. Remember the little things. Stay in touch with people online. Chat with them. Send them memes and shit. I've got like 15 lenders that send me memes nonstop on Instagram. It's like I can't reply because I want you to stop because not going to get my business because of this, but I mean, I do that with clients and past clients, and that works. So I understand why they're doing it. But the other thing is you can't be a secret agent. Be putting your social media online. Not everyone is following a zillion real estate agents and real estate services and platforms and content generators like you are. Most people know two to three, maybe real estate agents total, and they're not interacting with their stuff, so their stuff isn't populating their algorithm. Uh, but if you're the one that is,
Maybe they're not online and not putting themselves out there. So it's
yeah,
easy for you to end up in first place in their real estate agent pantheon or whatever.
that's right. That's right. Don't be ashamed of your success. Don't be afraid to let other people know that you're good. That attracts people. People do not want to work with an agent that they think is doing one property a quarter, right? They don't want that. They want someone that looks busy. We are in a fake it till you make it industry. My first 6 months in real estate, people were like, "Wow, you're crushing it," and I'm like, "I barely am keeping the lights on, but thank you. I'm doing a good job of putting stuff up there because you think I'm busy," and that generated more business. I'm not saying you need to put your GCI on your social media. I know people that do that. I think it's disgraceful. I don't personally like it when people brand themselves as luxury agents. I think you're telling a huge portion of the market that you're too good for their business. I think that's very, unless you only work with high-end builders, and there's a niche for people that do that, but that's not who we are, and we're not going to be that almost certainly. But that doesn't mean that you have to be ashamed of the fact that you know what you're doing and you're good, right? This attracts business and it's free advertising. Um, Keep your social media profiles up to date. Don't have it be all real estate. Sprinkle a little stuff in. Ellen, I know how you feel about this. I'm kind of the same to a degree. I don't like putting a ton of stuff of my daughter up because it just feels weird. I don't like the idea of using my daughter as an advertisement for business, but I don't. My daughter's cute, and I sometimes I think it would make people smile to see how cute she is. And so I don't share that with a business operative in mind. That I'm not fishing for business that way. I just love my child and I want to share it occasionally. So if you're constant business, people don't get to see the human side of you, and that's really what they want. The three things I do on social media that get me the most interaction are my daughter, my wife, and bourbon. If I put a bottle of bourbon up, I guarantee I'm going to get like 8 people that message me. Um, I haven't been doing that as much because I'm going to bed at like 8:15
Sounds
most
like you need
nights.
a hot toddy right now there, partner.
Well, we just stay sick here since Christmas. It's awful, but most of y'all have been through this, so you know. Um, as for reviews, I have actually had a lull in people giving me reviews lately. I'm not getting as much as I used to get. And honestly, I think it's because I'm not hitting people with it as soon as I used to. I used to tell them at closing, "I'm doing this today. This link is coming today. Please do it today." And I've gotten away from it just because my schedule is more hectic trying to be more present with Amber and Sophie. And that's my fault. So I need to correct course on that this year. But do that, right? And then stop projecting. I was just telling you about this guy I was projecting with for a couple weeks now. I finally figured out why he doesn't trust agents. I don't know everything as much as, and I probably think I'm smarter than anyone else that you know. I am. It's a huge character flaw. Doug can especially tell you that. But you have to stop projecting. I do it. I'm just as guilty as anyone about it. So this is a reminder as much for me as it is for anybody else. But we're not doing anything to move our business forward or help a potential client or a signed client um, progress in their goal if when we're projecting. Now that doesn't mean that you can't be honest with people at a certain point in your relationship and say, "Hey dude, we've done this 3 or 4 times now. It's not working. It's time to, you either got to do it my way or we need to have a conversation here." That's different than thinking
What's going on?
everything, especially at the beginning of the relationship.
Hey, Brandon,
Stop. Yes.
can you explain projecting? I don't think I'm quite getting what that is. Stop projecting.
Yeah. So I was just talking about this lead that a friend of mine gave me a couple of years ago, which is translated to like $4 million worth of real estate business for me. They inquired about a $25,000 piece of dirt in Durham. And so I know my friend, and she said, "Well, they don't have any money. I don't want to work with someone that don't have any money." Well, shit, you didn't know that. They were just looking at a piece of dirt. You know, they thought because the price was $25,000 that this person doesn't have any money, so it's a waste of my time. And they couldn't have been more wrong because their business has dropped off a cliff, and I've done 7 or 8 transactions with this guy. So, you know, it doesn't hurt you to take a call and meet somebody once and find out what their situation is. But if you think everybody who doesn't sound or look like you doesn't have money, or if you think someone has more money and you're not comfortable because you don't have experience working at that price point, then you're only selling yourself short and you're leaving
Mhm.
money on the table. So don't do that.
So it's kind of like, don't be presumptuous.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Don't put what you think about the situation to the front of the experience before you even give it an opportunity to come to fruition. You've already got preconceived ideas of what you think or your feelings projecting on them.
Well, but it's also not, Janine is entirely right, but it's also not about the client. It's about
That's
you as
true.
well.
True.
If you've been on the team for a minute, you've heard me say this before. If you wake up at, let me look at Mortgage News Daily. What was the rate at the end of the day yesterday? The economic news the last 2 weeks.
7.13.
Yeah, 7.13. The economic news the last week has been terrible, but they've been cooking the books for 4 months and they can't do that anymore. So 7.13 rates have gone up the last 2 weeks. Okay. If you wake up and say, well, shit, I wouldn't buy a house at 7.13, nobody else is going to be. Guess who's not getting paid in the next 30 to 60 days? You are, because you're projecting that no one wants to transact real estate right now because, quote, their rates are bad. Well, pull up the MLS and look at how many properties in the zip code and you live have gone under contract in the last 14 days. People are still buying and selling homes. Maybe not like they were a while ago, but there is still business to be had. But if you're convinced that no one is doing anything right now because you wouldn't, then you won't be doing any business.
Good point.
Got it. That makes sense.
You're also projecting to people. Think about this. If someone calls you and says, blah 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 blah, what's the rate look like? Oh, the rate's 7.13. You know, business has really come to a standstill. I'm not saying you lie to people. You never want to do that, but you say, hey man, you know what? The rates are what they are. We're probably going to be in the mid sevens to high sixes all year long. It just is what it is. It's just the economy. But people always have to buy and sell for a variety of reasons.
Yep.
Right.
You
Thank you
know,
so much for, explaining that.
you're welcome.
Well, I think another good way to say it is don't cut your nose off to spite your face. I
Yeah.
mean, why sabotage your own business? Good discussion. Thanks for sharing that, everybody. All right, next. I mean, this is the cornerstone of what we talk about all the time, but it's so important. It's not like we can talk about it too much. Provide value. That's your goal. That's why somebody registered. That's why they're willing to pick up the phone or respond to the text or the email that you sent. Maybe it was the first time, maybe it was the 10th time. Regardless, they want value. So provide it. Educate your clients and past clients. Educate them about what's going on in the marketplace. Educate them about the value of the home that you helped them buy. I don't know if any of you have done this, but with the new website, you can add an address for your past clients in their profile, and it will send them regular updates about their home and homes around them to help them monitor their value and their equity. So, you don't feel like you're doing a good job of engaging with your past clients or your sphere, set that up. It takes 30 seconds for every lead. You click the info tab, you enter the address. Boom, that's it. You don't have to do anything else. So, set that up. Set expectations from day one. Get behind the wheel and drive the ship, right? You said you want to do this and you want to do it by when? And this is what you're looking for. All right, here's the roadmap how to get here or to get where you want to go. First, this. Second, this. Third, this. Before we go out and look at those houses, you need to at least do A and B.
Sign this paper. No, I'm just kidding.
No, 100%. If we're opening a door, definitely. But if you're sitting in front of somebody and taking the time to do a buyer consult, go through the strategy session guide, why not? You're working for them already. Lock up the relationship. Assume the close. Close for the relationship, right? You've already invested your time and effort. And that goes right into the third bullet point. Confidence is key. If every time you meet with someone, you're worried about, oh, I don't want to ask them to sign anything. Oh, I don't want to put too much pressure on them. Well, they're going to sign with the person who did.
Yep.
So you want my help? You're asking for my help? This is the next step. Boom.
They
Know what
want
you
that
don't know?
though. They
Yeah,
want
of
that.
course they do.
They want to know what the hell.
90% of agent or people work with the first agent they meet with.
Yep.
If you're the first agent, don't become part of the 10%. Right? Know what you don't know. It's okay to say, I'm not sure. I got a whole team of people I can ask to make sure I get the right answer. Let me check with the county first. Let me double check with the listing agent because that information isn't in MLS documents. I'll get the answer for you. I want to give you the right answer. So let me circle back.
And that goes better than just there's a fake it till you make it can only take you so far. So like if I have a client that wants to see a house in an hour and a half away, I'm like, yep, that's in my MLS, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to be the best resource for you just because I don't serve that area. And I want you to be as successful as possible. So I'm going to hook you up with an agent that's going to take better care of you in that area than I could. That's being honest. That's knowing what you don't know. That's okay to do too.
Know what you don't know
That's right.
and know what to do about it.
Yeah.
This is so important in the world that we live in. Don't expect technology to do your job for you. We've got these great auto tracks set up to throw stuff at the wall to try and get a response from folks. But if you're not calling them, it's easy to hit delete on an email or a text. It's easy to delete a voicemail, but they'll see that you called. And that's a lot different than getting one of 30 emails a day. Can't tell you how many emails I delete before like 10 o'clock. It's ridiculous.
I just need to go in and take it one step further and hit unsubscribe.
I try that too. And then I mark it as junk, but still, but you can't expect the technology to do the job for you. It's to assist you, not to do it for you. And you just wait for somebody to reply. You still have to be proactive. Because how many people are signed up on multiple sites? They're getting a property alert from Zillow. They're getting a property alert from somebody at Remax, whatever. So you're just another property alert until you connect with them. And then you can have those conversations. Well, you don't need to be getting 4. Now that we've talked, I know what you're looking for. How about this one? Would this one be a good fit? All right, well, let's go see it. Oh, and now you got agency. Now it doesn't matter how many sites they're registered on. Because you provided that value, you got face to face, and they want to work with you because you did the job. Don't expect technology to do your job. It's not going to get your buyer agency signed for you.
But it better damn well open that Sentry lock box.
That's a whole nother. Hey, at least we don't use Supra anymore.
Oh my God.
Thank
What a
God.
nightmare. That was terrible.
I don't understand why that is a thing. It's god awful. Don't be a stranger. Stay in touch with your clients. One of my favorite things to do is to send a snapshot of my Facebook post on the anniversary of somebody's closing date. And at this point, I'm sending them like from 9 years ago now. But that's a lot of fun and a cool way to stay in touch with people outside of the other stuff, like sending them funny stuff on social media, Christmas card. I had a great client event. It was really great for one person until she started puking off my front porch back in December. So, but that was fun. And I'm planning on doing some more of that stuff this summer too. I used to do cookouts at my house and have clients over. And it's just a great way to engage with folks. And not everybody will come or can come, but they appreciate the invite. Brandon does a really cool thing where like last year, he did an event. He's doing another one this year. It's like for his VIP clients. And by that, he means someone who's maybe bought and sold multiple properties or folks who have referred multiple folks, right? Cheerleaders, big referral people. They're gonna continue sending him business. And that goes back to his point of, that's an investment in your business. And that's going to pay, maybe that event's $5,000. I guarantee he's going to get a better return on investment on that than he is $5,000 worth of Facebook leads or Zillow leads.
100%.
Treat other agents well. We're all in this together. We rely on each other. Part of the training, which hopefully you always remember, but we've also talked about that in a situation like this before. Win the other agent over. Make them want to work with you. There are a lot of asshole agents out there. Don't be one. Be somebody another agent wants to work with. They're more likely to tell their client, hey, this is a good agent. They know what they're doing. I know they're going to communicate. I know they're being honest. I've worked with them in the past. If they're really good, invite them to join the team.
I would say that definitely me and Janine and Doug have won deals before because we had somewhat of a relationship with the other agent.
Yes.
And I will just tell you that, I have friends that do this, and I've told a few of them before because I care about them, even though I come across as an asshole. Listen, if every agent you deal with, if every transaction the other agent sucks, there's only one common denominator here, unfortunately.
The other people don't suck, you suck.
I mean, you have to ask yourself hard questions. You know how you deal with other agents. If you wouldn't want to deal with you, nobody wants to deal with you. And, that's not good for your client. 20% of the agents are doing 80% of the business in every market. Your name gets out. People work on teams, they talk. Really, take this seriously. It's also nice to be nice to people. Like, you're not going to lose any sleep over being nice to someone.
It usually makes your job, your day, your life just easier to be nice to folks. I think, and Kelly, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the reason you're here is because we did a couple of transactions together and you had a pretty good experience.
That's absolutely right.
And that meant so much when she reached out to me. I mean, what a great feeling, because I try to make it a good experience for the other agents, last.
And also to that point, Doug, I'll say, if you're a listing agent, I always do this. I'm sure Brandon and Doug do too. But if you're a listing agent and you had a really good experience with a great agent on the other end, send them a thank you card and a $5 Starbucks and say, coffees for closers. Thank you so much for being so professional and communicative, getting to the closing table. I can't tell you how many I've received as a buyer's agent from listing agents that just were thankful. And that it puts a feather in your hat, makes you feel like it boosts to your ego about, you're doing a good job for your clients. And that, like, again, like I had one girl that just closed in December. She's like, thank you so much. That was such a sweet surprise to receive that. Just go the extra mile, be that agent that stands out, send that, especially if you're a listing agent. That buyer's agent worked their ass off to get that deal closed with you. So they need to feel appreciated because they brought you the business and they're worth it. Because you've been that buyer's agent, make sure that when you're a listing agent, you go out of your way. Now, if they were a piece of shit, I'm not saying you need to send them. And if you never want to deal with, like, again, they're not all created equal, but the ones that were phenomenal, especially the newer agents that they'll tell, like I worked with this one girl in Richlands and she was like, this is my first transaction. I'm like, you're doing a hell of a job. And she's like, thank you so much for being so good and helping me. I'm like, why wouldn't I? No, it was Sneed's Ferry. She was on an EXP team and she's like, it was her personal home. And she didn't know up from down, left from right. We got tidewatered. I had to walk her, like the whole thing. And I was like, you're doing a great job. So just because they're not on the same team with you, they're all in this for the same goal. And they're going to remember that. So just say thank you. That's all.
That's what Taylor did for me on my first transaction.
Oh yeah, Taylor Green.
Yeah, I was like, Taylor, like halfway through, I was like, Taylor, I'm gonna be honest, this is my first transaction. He was like, I would have never known, but I got your back. So he was great through the whole thing.
I love to be able to say thanks for what just a great smooth transaction.
Yes.
At the end of one. It is just so nice to feel that way and to be able to share that feedback. you know, there's a lot we could talk about that as far as relationships with other agents and maybe a further mastermind we could do. But hey, if you have a great experience with somebody, tell them, but tell me too. I'd love
Yeah.
to, you know, I would appreciate that. If it was somebody you think you might want to work with, let me know. I'll reach out to them. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
they will be interested because I know you guys get calls, but
Mhm.
heck, it helps me meet somebody else in the business. And I like to know other agents. I probably got half of my phone book is probably real estate agents in my contact list.
That's a good point. I need to do that.
Do what you're paid to do. Remember what it's about, and it ain't you. All right. It's not you. It's about your client. So remember that with everything you do. Okay.
You're
And that,
not buying the house. They are.
and that includes getting along with the other agent.
Well,
Right.
the point that I was making, and y'all are definitely right on everything you're saying. But the point that I was making when I gave this presentation initially to this group of new agents is, hey, you don't just open the door and your offer's automatically accepted.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
do the inspections, you get the repair quote, you advise your client, you make the ask that you don't want to make because you know it's absurd. You educate your people. You talk to the other agent and say, "Yeah, listen, man, I know this isn't going to fly, but you know how this goes. They've asked me to do this. Where can we come to a meeting of the minds here to find an agreement that works for everybody?" You do the little things. When you put a listing on the MLS, enter the measurements in the rooms for the MLS. If the property is in a HOA and you can access the HOA documents without paying for them through HomeWise, upload the documents to the HOA or to the MLS. If you know you're going to advertise it as an investment property, don't you think you need to be able to point to the covenants that say you can rent the property as long as the rental is 12 months or more? Like, do the little things. We're actually, we get paid handsomely to do, we're not exactly splitting the atom here, right? Do the little stuff, right? Like do the little stuff. And I know that it gets frustrating. We have so much to do. We have to make calls. We have to do our database. We have to do social media. You know, we meet us on Thursdays as a team. You know, we have all these obligations. We have family and children. And you need to have some private time. But like you actually need to work. You're being paid handsomely to work, and most agents don't want to work. And that's why 87% of agents are out of business in 5 years. They don't want to do the little things that it takes to make their listing stand out. They want to hire the cheapest services and just throw it on the MLS and just wait for someone to come. And, you know, you get what you pay for. And part of what people are paying us for, especially on the list side, is to do a good job.
And
So
you've
be what
been
you're
that.
paid for,
Yeah,
right?
you've been
Give
that.
your clients.
Yeah, you've been that buyer's agent having to go hunt shit down. Just make it easy for that buyer's agent. Make it easy. Put everything in there. Now, half the time, some of them don't read the freaking MLS or don't take the extra mile because the questions they ask you are already in the MLS. But short of commission and a 220 being in the MLS, go the extra mile. Like Brandon said, you're getting paid X% by your sellers. You want those buyer's agents to feel very confident showing your listing.
Yes.
So
Fill out
set them up for success. Don't you want them to bring you an offer?
Yeah.
yeah. Also, think about how this is going to reflect on your client. April can tell you because I'm such a head case. I don't want to rely on someone else telling me what the utilities are. I don't want to rely on some database. We're going to ask the agent, or I'm going to ask my client what the utilities are. Because if I just send my client some list that says, call Duke Power to connect your electric or whatever, and I know we have the service that helps now, and a lot of people do it, but some of them don't, and they call Duke Power, and Duke says, well, we actually don't service your address. Who looks like the idiot?
Yep.
I do. If
Yep.
anyone's going to make me look like an idiot, it's going to be me.
Hey,
Love it.
Brandon.
Yeah.
You know, what I do is I call the power company or I call the cable company. I'll also call the, Department of Transportation to find out about, whether a road is public or private.
Wow.
So that goes again with, going the extra mile. We need to pick up the phone and call these utility companies and say, do you service this address, and hear it from them.
I
Yep.
think that's great. I think you're going above and beyond. I mean, if that works for you, I think That is fabulous. I typically, what I do is either myself when I'm on the buy side, either myself or April will ask the listing agent specifically for the utility services that their clients or that their sellers are paying. When I'm filling out the listing documents, one of the documents I have my sellers fill out is the utility sheet so I can put that on the MLS. And I love when agents on the buy side reach out to April and I say, "Hey guys, can you send us the utilities?" It's on the MLS, sweetie. Just go click the folder.
The document that you can fill out for your clients is in .loop. It's also in the Google Drive. There's
Yeah.
a utility sheet and just
I
go in.
have to run. I think this has been a great conversation. If I can help anyone, always feel free to sidebar me. Okay. Y'all have a great day. Sorry
Get
to
you a
run.
hot toddy.
I need one. I need more than that. See y'all. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye,
Brandon.
Brandon.
Keep your foot on the gas. This industry rewards people who get after it. This is a hunter industry. Okay. You have to get out there and get after it. You can't just wait for stuff to fall in your lap. And that's if you're on leads, if you're not on leads. You got to put yourself out there one way or another. All right. So keep your foot on the gas. Don't let up. A lot of agents make this look easy. Brandon is a great example. Janine is a great example. You all are becoming great examples. It is not easy. But that's what makes it rewarding because nothing worth having is easy.
Truth.
Stuff that you work for that is the most rewarding.
Like a 20-year marriage.
Amen.
Dean, I feel
Brandon?
like there's something behind that right now.
Gosh, it.
It's because she's been planning for her 20th anniversary trip.
Yes.
So that's it. That's the presentation. If anybody has any further comments or wants to discuss any more, let's do it. But really, that's it. Like Brandon says, we're not splitting the atom. This isn't that hard to figure out, but it can be really hard to do.
Yeah.
So use this guide, these topics that we've talked about to give yourself a better chance at success. And always be cognizant. Don't be so in it that you don't realize what is going on. You can't just be like zoned out going through the motions, right? Be like your clients deserve that. That's all I got. I hope it was helpful for everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was. It was good.
Thanks for the
Thank you, Dad.
participation, everybody. All right. Y'all have a great day. I think, hold on real quick before I let you go. I don't have a topic for next week yet. I'll come up with one, but if someone has a suggestion, please send it to me.
Doug,
You
I
can-
got a quick question about MLS, so don't hop off.
Let me stop recording.
All right.
Doug,
Bye,
I won't
everybody.
be on
Bye,
next
everybody.
week.